It has been 1,184 days since the deadly Oxford High School shooting. In the wake of that tragedy, lawmakers, parents, and students across Michigan called for change. Change in safety, security, and accountability. Now, more than 3 years later, has enough change happened to make schools safer? Over the course of 3 years, our news headlines read, Michigan legislature mulls funding for school resource officers. 1 year after Oxford's shooting, lawmakers criticized lack of urgency on school safety. Time and time again, the legislation was stalled in Lansing. That is, until December 2024, when the legislature passed some school safety bills, and then it was signed into law by the governor.
I wish we could have gotten them done sooner.
It shouldn't have taken so long.
Last year, we reported on these stalled school safety bills. They made it to the House committee hearing after going nowhere.
Bills that have the potential to save lives, to give districts guidance surrounding threat assessment work that many have been desperately seeking and trying to initiate in their own districts following Oxford and other school tragedies.
House Bill 5549 focuses on threat assessment. Democratic lawmaker Kelly Breen and Republican Luke Meerman introduced the bill that was signed last month by Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
I know the threat assessment bill is, I wish it wasn't necessary. And I know most schools, mercifully, were already doing something along that line anyway.
Many schools have a threat assessment in place. In fact, Oxford High School did on November 30th, 2021. However, through the investigation report from Guidepost Solutions, it wasn't used. House Bill 5549 also says along with the assessment, there would also have to be a behavior team in place. Every district would be required to do this under the law by October 1st, 2026. For Steve St. Juliana, the bill is lacking in holding anyone accountable.
There's no mechanism in there for management of it, oversight, no penalties if they don't do it.
As the bill is written, there are no consequences if districts don't follow through. For Steve, this has been his fight for more than 3 years now after his daughter, Hannah St. Juliana, was killed November 30th, 2021. Steve, along with the parents of Madison Baldwin, Tate Meir, and Justin Schilling, have all called for more to be done.
They're all a good step in the right direction, but most of them missed the mark.
Another set of bills creates standardized terminology used by schools in response to emergency situations.
I mean, just the idea that we're going to try and make sure when the police show up, terminology is the same. You know, what's a partial school lockdown?
It's taken them 3 years to pass a simple bill saying, let's all use the same language, the same terminology. 3 years. It's mind-boggling.
Steve continues to call for changes to be made because he doesn't want to see another school shooting.
I've said this from the very beginning. It's not a matter of if this happens again, it's a matter of when. And the longer it takes the state to make changes, the more chance of this tragedy happening again.
He fears the lack of accountability in these bills means districts won't follow through even if it's law.
How is the state monitoring that the schools are doing this? And if they don't do this, there should be some repercussion.
In other states, there are repercussions if schools don't follow through on a threat assessment policy. For instance, in California, if schools don't follow through, they could lose funding and also be under investigation from the state's Department of Education. Besides threat assessment policies, there are other safety aspects in place in schools like metal detectors and camera surveillance. We asked on our Facebook page if people felt schools were safer now compared to 10 years ago. A majority of people say no, they aren't. And only 7% said yes, schools are safer now.